Okay, hi Jimmy Neutron fans. I'm Quietthinker, also known as Ryan.
And I am Farley Drexel, also known as Ed.
And we're going to answer some of the questions we received from you guys today, as well as just do some discussion on our stories. So about a few weeks ago, we posted that we were going to do this video chat on I Dream of Jimmy, and we got a few questions sent in, so we'll just start with the first ones. The first question we received is, which one of your JN fics is your favorite and why? Ed, why don't you answer that one first?
Alright, well, the favorite fic that I wrote is Make a Move. I like it because it's a romantic comedy, and when it comes to things that I like to read stuff that can make me laugh, stuff that hopefully is well written, and maybe makes you think a little bit, has some sincere moments. So those are the kind of things I try to inject into this story, and those are the things that I tend to like about it.
My favorite fic that I wrote would have to be Pushing Through, because I always felt that the final battle was kind of the climax, the best writing that I'd done, and then I came back into Pushing Through and it turned out even better. And I really like how you had pretty much everything. You had drama, action, adventure, romance, and I love just showing the evolution of all the characters and how after all that they've been through, they kind of pulled together. So Pushing Through was my favorite.
Yeah, it definitely was a long ride, but it was well worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I also think that Make a Move was an awesome ride. That is not yet done, but I'm sure it will finish.
Yes, I definitely do have plans to finish it, so be prepared for that.
Alright, our second question was, which Jimmy Neutron character is easiest for you to write and which presents the biggest challenge? For me, the one that presents the biggest challenge is actually probably Carl, because, he's kind of the fifth wheel in the show, and I find it really hard to kind of incorporate him into the gang. But I also have a problem of writing him as super timid. Like, I think in Pushing Through, after every line he says, it literally says, Carl says this timidly. So that was a little mistake I made. So Carl's kind of hard for me to write. The easiest is Libby, because she's the voice of reason and she's just kind of sarcastic. So I find her to be the easiest to write for.
For me, the hardest to write is probably a toss-up between Carl and Sheen. Like Ryan just mentioned. Carl, I don't know, sometimes it feels hard to get like his voice right. He's timid and, he's Carl, and just making Carl sound like Carl, I find sometimes to be a bit of a challenge. Sheen can be hard because, he's hyperactive, he's crazy, but, he's not just that. He's hyperactive and crazy in a very specific way, a very Sheen way. And so sometimes, trying to get that, done the way you want it to, I find can be a little bit difficult. Which character is easiest? I would have to say Jimmy. It just comes naturally to me. I feel I can write him, pretty easily and make him sound in character. Give him his vocabulary, his personality quirks, all those kinds of things. So to me, he's pretty easy.
And I also agree that Sheen is very hard. One of the things we've talked about when we're reviewing each other's stories is it's very hard to get Sheen just right, because you take him a little too far and he's just completely insane, and you take him a little too short and you just lose his sheeniness. So it's a tough balance. Our next question, was for me specifically. What has been your biggest source of inspiration in helping you craft such action-packed stories? Inspiration, I definitely listen to a lot of music when I write. I find it very hard to write without music, so try to listen to some action-packed music when I write my action scenes.
Could you give some examples?
I can, I suppose, give you some examples. It's been a while since I've written an action scene. I know I liked a lot of the late Blink-182 stuff. That's kind of action-y, I think. Some Green Day is good. Asthenia by Blink-182. That's a really good one to write Jimmy Neutron to, because it's very action-packed, but it's also about a guy in space, an astronaut, so.
Yeah, like songs with good
parallels.
energy.
Good energy.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think if there are any film references that I would try to match just basic I can't think of anything specific. I definitely try to have a lot of tension by jumping back and forth between characters or groups of characters. I don't think that's an inspiration, but that's a technique I try to use. Flitting back and forth between groups of characters.
Yeah, I thought I don't know, something about the way you write action scenes kind of reminds me of films like Die Hard. Like when I saw Die Hard for the first time, actually only a few years ago, I hadn't seen it, and I thought, wow, it seems a lot like Ryan's writing. I don't know, something about like the way the tension was built, had some humor and stuff like that. And so, I guess I see some of the element of that.
I've never seen Die Hard, but I would like to. And
I think you would like it.
And so that's that. Why don't we go on to your question, Ed? One that came directly for you.
Sure. So how did France's character come into existence? Is he based off someone I know? Honestly, Francis came out of nowhere. Basically, I was writing a scene where I think it's where Jimmy and Cindy, they're waiting in line, to go into the ride for the was it the Eye in the Sky ride? And like I was thinking, okay, the scene needs one more thing that's ridiculous. Like, what's the most ridiculous thing I can think of? And so I just thought of this, androgynous kid. He kind of looks like a girl from behind, but of course you see he's not a girl. I mean, that's not so unique, but then I thought, okay, well, I just have to make everything bad happen to him that's possible. And so that's basically like my goal throughout the story. Whenever I introduce Francis, figure out just how to keep the ball rolling, how to keep bad things happening to him. And basically that's him. He just spawned off from that. He's just like this kid with this horrible luck. He kind of annoys Jimmy for some reason. Like, I don't even know why, but Jimmy just hates him. Maybe because, I don't know, maybe just because he just doesn't like him. And yeah, so that's Francis.
And I have to say, their Make a Move is probably not just the funniest Jimmy Neutron story I've ever read, but I think easily the funniest story I've ever read. Like, it's just non-stop hilarity to me, and there's so many funny things, but Francis is just so funny. Like, just that everything goes wrong with him, that Jimmy hates him when he's the one causing these problems, and I just love the rat scene at the end of that latest chapter when he's carried away by those rats. Like, my favorite part, I think, of anything I've ever read was when he just screams like, "I know what you're doing. You're taking me back to the sewer, aren't you?" Like, just that he's narrating this as the rats are pulling him away is so funny.
That was a part that I like to do. Like, he explains like everything that happens to while it's happening to him. It's like he goes like, "Are you serious? This is happening to me? Like, this is happening to me? Like, what? No, this doesn't happen to anyone. Who does this happen to?" And I don't know. At first I thought I was going too over the top, to be honest. Like, I thought, okay, people are either going to think it's funny or they're going to think this is the stupidest thing they've ever read. But I just thought, all right, I'll just go with it and let the chips fall where they will, so.
And it's funny that Ed mentioned that, because I was just thinking, like, when you have a character that's kind of as insane as Francis, like, typically, you see him once or twice, it's funny. You see him 3 or 4 times, you start to get annoyed. Like, it's too much. But for me, it never got that. It was just funny every single time he popped up. And I was like, if every chapter has Francis for half the chapter, I don't think it could ever get old.
Yeah.
Just this poor guy. So Francis is definitely funny.
Yeah, we'll see if I can keep the ball rolling for him. How about your second question?
All right, and just so you guys know, we keep going like this because we got our questions on the computer and the screen keeps fading away, so that's why we keep doing that. We're not reaching out to touch you. All right, second Quietthinker question. Do you act out your scenes, your action scenes, after writing them? I actually act them out before I write them, typically in the shower. I consider showers to be my creative time, so I will typically shout out lines of intense dialogue. I will act out fight scenes. It's really intense, and if my girlfriend ever just goes in to use the bathroom, and she'll laugh at me, and I'll feel sad. But I do act them out. I definitely feel it helps. Sometimes I'll do it on the way to classes, too, if no one's around. But I definitely think acting it out helps get the wording and the movements right. So the answer is yes, I do act out my action scenes.
I love that you really get into it.
That's what it's all about.